Are you ready to talk about Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Clay? The live-action remake, not the... Gosh, when did the original come out? Like 1930 something?
I think it was like 1936, I want to say.
That sounds about right. But are you ready to talk about it?
Hi-ho.
Hi-ho.
Hi-ho, hi-ho. This movie really blows.
Honestly, like, I'll be real. I'll be 100% real.
Oh, I'd hope so.
Okay, maybe I'm a little fake. Just a skosh. Just a little bit of plastic. I didn't hate this. And I think a lot of it was, I went in knowing you know what this is? Watching this movie reminds me of a less enjoyable version of Rise of Skywalker. Because Rise of Skywalker, you look so shocked. But here's the thing. Rise of Skywalker I knew was going to be terrible. Because it was already leaked. I knew what happened in the film. So I didn't go in thinking, man, I'm excited to see a new Star Wars movie. I'm excited to see the end of the trilogy. I'm like, this sounds awful. I've seen the other two. My dad wants to go watch it with me. I'm going to go watch Star Wars with my father. And I had a good time doing that, even though the movie was terrible. So I don't hate Rise of Skywalker the way a lot of people do. And this feels very similar. I went in knowing more or less everything that happened. And so
Snow White.
Yeah, I mean, it's Snow White, but also knowing what they do with it. And yeah, was I impressed? No.
Horrified.
Horrified, yes. Intrigued? Also, yes. Because there were points where I was like, I can see what's happening. They clearly didn't have a clue. But there were points where I could almost see what they were trying to do. And if it had worked, I would have maybe been down for it. Did it work? No, I don't think so.
No.
But I kind of had a good time with the things that almost worked, and the things that didn't work were...
Is entertaining the right word?
Can I just skip to talking about the villain song?
Oh, we gotta start somewhere.
Oh my gosh, it's so bad. It's so
really
fucking weird. Okay. If you're familiar with Snow White, and I'm assuming you are somewhat familiar with Snow White, you know there is a point where the queen is in front of a mirror. Mirror, mirror on the wall. Who's the fairest of them all? And then the mirror more or less says, look, you're really close to being it, but Snow White exists. And the queen goes, okay, that's a problem, because what I want to be the fairest in the land. That is my motivation. It's a fairy tale. You can keep it simple. That's fine.
Simple and
so
clean.
She says, I need her dead. I'm going to send her out into the woods. I'm going to send my huntsman to go with her. Huntsman, kill her, and bring me back her heart as proof. And you're going to put it in this box. Sorry, I just thought of Yzma. And I put that... I'm going to take her heart. I'm going to put it in a box. I'm going to put that box in another box. I'm going to make that box to myself. And when it arrives, I'll smash it with a hammer. Anyway, sorry, I couldn't resist. So...
Pull the lever, Josh.
Wrong lever!
Oh, I need to rewatch this movie, because
we've been going here for like a week.
It's like, we need to watch the movie again.
But to my point says, give me her heart, I will put it in a box, and I will keep it, and this is my keepsake, a reminder of Snow White and how fair she is. Then goes to the mirror and says, who's the fairest now? It ain't her, she's dead. And then the mirror goes, that's a pig's heart, you fucking idiot. Which, and then at that point, the queen realizes, I've been had. You want something done right, you do it yourself, becomes the hag, etc., etc. Here, she doesn't look at the box!
Because it's a fucking
It's just the apple!
It's just an apple.
He, lets Snow White go in a really rushed, awkward scene. And then when she's talking to the mirror, and the mirror's like, no, you're fucking stupid. She opens the box, sees an apple, and goes, gasp!
I've been had.
Despite the fact that I wanted unequivocal proof that she was dead. Despite
and asked him to bring
it to me. And she is that vain. Never checked?
I even have this really ornate box specifically for it.
It's a really nice box.
I think it's actually less pretty than the one in the animated version.
And then...
Let me see.
You get to her villain song, which...
comes the fuck out of nowhere.
It just seemed like the same villain song from Wish, about how it's like, I'm in queen. I can do whatever I want. Come on, guys. When you're the fairest in the land, or whatever the fuck it was, because it seemed to be like, look, I'm the fairest, I'm the prettiest, I can do whatever I want. Which, hey, slay queen, I get it. But there's this one part where she's talking to the huntsman, has him brought before her. It sounded like what she was saying. I maybe couldn't hear because I was laughing so hard at just how hammy it is. Okay, that is really nice. Oh, and it's an apple. That's so fucking.
Well, that was in the other box.
Okay, I didn't remember that, but
that part was in the box because that's like the latch to open it, which is really cool. But it's like that one's like a plain. It looks like it's unpainted.
No, I kind of liked the white color though. I thought it looked really nice. But it sounded like what she was trying to say to the huntsman is, you promised me a heart, and you didn't deliver.
I'm getting one way.
I'm getting one way or another. And I thought she was just gonna probably not gonna show it, but carve out his heart and take it. And that's kind of when everyone else in the kingdom realizes just how insane she is. It would have been so cool.
It would have been a great villain moment.
100%. And instead, she's just like says all this shit, and then is like, to the dungeon, for I'm fair, and blah blah blah. You continue. I'm gonna go let the dogs in.
Okay.
But the villain song was goofy and weird, and I loved it, but it wasn't good.
And, thinking about it, like, okay. In the original story, the huntsman disappears after he tells Snow White to, like, go free. And it never says what happens to him. You can make your own, like, story. Like, maybe he ran away. Or maybe the evil queen did kill him. And it's like, okay, thinking about it in this story, her not killing him there, what purpose does it serve keeping him alive? I can think of the one scene, which is also a really stupid scene, where, like, him and Jonathan, like, pull really hard to get free of the chains in the dungeon, so it's a really shitty dungeon. It's like
it breaks down the wall.
It's like what? What? It's like, why didn't you just kill him? I think that would have served the purpose of the plot way more, because it would have really established just how like crazy this bitch is.
You just answered, because if she killed him, he couldn't have helped our boy Jonathan with the chains. You sound like you want to talk about our boy Jonathan.
Who the fuck is Jonathan?
He's Jonathan! He's Robin Hood, basically. Because, he basically everything about him feels like he's supposed to be Robin Hood.
And look, okay, is Prince Charming over there in the original, is he a particular, like, he's not a character, he is a plot device. But in a fairy tale, a plot device is usually all you need. And, is it all regressive, like Snow White's like, oh, I'm wishing for my prince to come, and, true love's kiss and all that. And it's like, well, okay, if you want to give him an actual character, I'm fine with that. But it's like, okay, he's no longer a prince, he's just some random bandit dude. But, unlike my main man, Flynn Rider, has 0 charisma. Okay, he has, like, maybe 1 point in charisma. He's got 1 point in charisma. In D&D rules. So it's like he's got a little bit of charisma, but he's on, like, the problem is one, I don't particularly care for his character because he's very inconsistent, where it's like, okay, so at first he's very, like, sarcastic and witty and all that stuff. He's got the I almost said Tony Hawk syndrome, but it's like Tony Stark syndrome.
He's not my metaphor protagonist. He's not Tony Hawk.
When he kickflipped over the evil queen, I lost it. I'm gonna be honest. That's like the one redeeming part of the movie.
Who's the fairest in the land? Tony Hawk. For only he can do the 900.
I'm sorry. Can you pop an ollie in that dumbass outfit? Fuck. It's true. But it's like, okay, this guy has like 0 charisma. Like very. Okay, he has very little charisma. His dialogue isn't particularly interesting. He's inconsistently written because it's like, okay, first he's kind of like the snappy, snarky kind of guy. Then Snow White, her act of kindness, she saves him by, just lightly untying the rope that was binding him to the gate. Again, barely an inconvenience. And when they meet again, he's a complete asshat. He's like, it's like they haven't even met each other before. And he's like, I gotta look out for me. Why should I worry? He's got like this whole little song.
Don't compare it to Billy Joel.
You're right. That's a sin.
It's a similar tone, but oh man, completely different leagues.
But it's like, but then it's like he just kind of doesn't want to. He's like, actually, I'm not a piece of shit after. Like, okay, that's the thing. It's like he's like, I'm looking out for me. You know, I'm a bandit. I'm looking out for number one and my homies.
Just princess problems.
And you just have princess problems. And it's like, oh no, he's actually a freedom fighter who's been fighting to find her dad the whole time. And I'm like, which is it? Pick a lane.
Okay, so the way I understood it,
Like,
I don't.
He's disillusioned.
No, it's not that I want to defend the movie and its inconsistent plotting super hard. The way I kind of understood it is it's less that they're freedom fighters and just more of like, no, we are bandits trying to do what we can to survive,
But we were part of the King's Men.
or it's like we support the king because we know when the king ruled in better times. We don't know where he is.
that.
There's not much we can really do, but blah blah blah. But no, I do agree because when he first shows up, you know, he is trying to have that, devilish rogue charm, but also kind of seems to have this, like, you know, if the princess, like, gave a shit, maybe things would be better. You know, if she...
And then she did.
What is the line? I think Snow says to him something along the lines, you know, the princess is thinking about what to do. You know what? Good for her. Maybe if she spent more time doing instead of just thinking, maybe things would be a little bit better.
It's like, okay. Because that's the thing. The movie kind of tricked us into thinking it was actually going to be halfway decent with, like, the opening.
Yeah, because I actually, like, really
minutes.
like that opening shit. It's, like, pretty good. I was getting into it.
And then, like, as soon as the whole huntsman scene happened, the movie just went fucking
It
down.
really did.
Very quickly.
But so that's the thing. You do kind of get the vibe that he is, I'm looking out for number one, but, you know, I do believe that better things are out there. Then she saves him, which is what leads to the mirror saying, oh no, Snow White's the fairest in the land now, like she's a good fucking person.
We'll get to that.
Which means when she meets him later and is like, no, like, I am the princess, I want, like, you told me to start doing shit, I want to start doing. And then he goes, oh, really? Sounds like a princess. Not do with me.
That's another thing. Okay.
And it, like you said, it just feels so inconsistent. And like you were saying, the tune of the song at one point just sounds like it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas.
Like there's a particular, like,
and it's weird.
There's like a few measures where it's like that's literally the exact same, like, notes. What the hell?
Which also reminds me, both of us noted this. Like, there's a part during Snow White's, like, big song at the start. It sounded a lot like Moana's song.
Yeah.
And just like the way she, as you said, it's like the notes and the cadence are weirdly similar.
Yeah.
And also just kind of like the tone and the vibe. But you were saying.
But the biggest sin with the character of Jonathan is that I don't buy for a second that these two love each other. They have no chemistry. Now, the movie tries, but I felt nothing. And that wasn't even me being a bitter old man just going like, oh, look at these fucking idiots.
Love, I don't believe in them.
You know, this isn't me being grumpy or anything. It's, no, like, these two have, like, a couple scenes together and suddenly they're in love. Which, let's get into the big problem I have with this movie. In a fairy tale, that's fine. That's how it works, right? Yes. I mean, hell, even in something like Little Mermaid or Beauty and the Beast, where I feel like in Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast, I buy the chemistry of those characters way more than these people, because they're these people.
Yes, like, what do you mean, these fairy tale creatures?
Some of you may die, but it is a sacrifice I'm so ready to make. I'm not even gonna.
Are you?
Yes.
If any time I can sneak that weird line delivery in, I have to. It's the funniest. It's my favorite part of the movie.
But it's like, in a fairy tale setting, you know, quickly getting into true love, that's just part of the story. That's part of the magic of a fairy tale. Fairy tales exist in a realm that doesn't have real world logic, and that's completely fine. You know, that's what we want. So yeah, like in the original Snow White, it's like, yeah, they meet like one time and then he comes back and like kisses her at the end. It's like, in a logical setting, this makes no sense. Who the fuck is this guy and why is he such a creep? But I mean, literally, he kisses her and they fucking ride off to Valhalla or something in the end of the, and that's great because like it's the happy ending. But in this movie, they're trying to take the fairy tale story and put real world-ish logic. Like, they're trying to ground it more in reality.
Which is why she doesn't check what's in the box. And that's why that broke me so hard.
It's like in the fairy tale, if she didn't check the box because she was just that vain and prideful, I could buy that. But no, she fucking checks the box in the fairy tale, and it has to be the mirror who says, "Nah, bitch, that's a pig heart." And she's like, "Drat, file it again." But here it's like, she didn't check? What? So she's retarded? But here, okay, so it's like, okay, so you're trying to expand their relationship so it has more of a real world, like, romantic kind of, I don't know, like, it's supposed to feel more like a real relationship, and I buy none of it. Like, when he gives her a little, I don't even want to call it true love's kiss, it's a true love's
to me, it was like, exactly.
He gave her a little peck on, like, her chin, basically, and she's like, "Oh, I'm alive! Alright, thanks, dude, see ya." And then she goes and basically does the climax by herself, and he's just kind of just not there, you know. Huntsman isn't even fucking there. We'll get to the climax. Oh god, there's so much to talk about. Thanks, you did your job. You gave me the little smooch of waking up, and so I can get out of here. Which, again, going into the whole fairy tale logic thing, like, man, this evil queen is fucking stupid. She's supposed to be this all-powerful enchantress. The movie even says, like, she's this incredibly powerful enchantress. She can fucking Thanos snap a rose. Look at that shit.
She can make knives appear.
Yeah. I'm like, she didn't fucking do this herself?
I don't know why, but as she started to brandish it before you really see that's like this crystal dagger, I was like, is that a gun?
I thought it was like the fairy godmother's wand.
Which would have made some sense too, but
I'm like, her just going full witch.
Did she just like manifest a Glock? No, this movie's about to get good.
I may not be fairest of them all, but I'm the most well-armed of them all.
I'm the most accurate.
But my aim is getting better. But it's like, okay, so in the fairy tale, it makes sense that she's, you know, like she's acting more on emotions and impulses. She's not a real person. She is an antagonistic force, which is like, okay, she makes choices that don't make sense to us, but in a world of the fairy tale, it's completely fine. Like, yeah, okay, so she has the huntsman go to kill her. I mean, that makes sense. Like, she doesn't want to sully her hands with such dirty work. Of course not. But then it's like, okay, once she finds out that the dude betrayed her, she's like, okay, I gotta do this myself. And that's why she gets into the whole, like, you know, complicated scheme. I'm gonna make myself look like an old hag. I'm gonna poison an apple. I'm gonna walk over and then I'm gonna, hey, you wanna take a munch of this apple? Ah! No, I'll be fairest in the land, which they cut out of the movie. Why? Why'd you cut that? Because what we were saying on the car ride back is, like, for some reason, the evil queen and the hags, like, their emotions are reversed. Where it's like the evil queen is somehow super hammy, and the hag is, like, super cold and serious. And it's like, no, it's the other way around. And that's not even me being like an old man going, ah, it was better in the original. It's like, no, it makes sense. It's like, you know, the evil queen, she's vain and proud, and she carries herself like a queen. And yes, she is this cold-hearted bitch. But that's part of her elegance. That's part of her, like, mystique. I don't know if mystique's the right word. Like, her presence. Her aura. Then, you know, when she turns into the old hag, it's like, you see what she really is. This monster, this who loves how sadistic and evil she is. It's like when Snow White falls to the ground and she goes, now I'll be fairest in the land. Like that is the triumphant moment for the villain right before her downfall, which is super satisfying. And they cut all of that out. Because it's like the old hag is like super quiet. We don't even get the whole thing where like she's walking down the hallway and there's like a skeleton like reaching for a bowl of water. He's like, oh, thirsty? Here, have a drink. I'm like, dude, you cut out the best lines. Instead, you gave her a really shitty song. And also, you're having Gal Gadot play her. And Gal Gadot can't act. She can't. I'm sorry, she can't. There are some
I don't know if I can say that. She does not give a good performance here. I have not seen enough of Gal Gadot's filmography to say if she's a good actress or a bad.
She's okay in Wonder Woman.
I haven't even seen Wonder Woman. I think I've only seen her in like Justice League and Batman v Superman and this.
Which, I mean, those aren't particularly stellar showings for her either.
I mean, no, but they just weren't particularly stellar showings in general. But I haven't seen the Snyder cut of the Justice League.
Yeah. I do have it. We
can watch it at some point. But
it's like 4 hours long. But anyways, so the evil queen just sucks in this movie. She gets a fucking awful song.
I mean, she's not good, but I had a good time watching it.
I mean, yeah, but in the same way you have a fun time watching, like, say, America's Funniest Home Videos where you're reveling in people suffering because of how stupid they are. Yeah, I was going to say it's like looking at a train wreck, but I'm like, reveling in a train wreck would make you a psycho, so we're not going to do that.
I don't mean embarrassed.
I'm like, okay, so you're cutting out the whole climax of her getting chased by the dwarves, which, oh my god, we haven't even talked about them yet.
Go ahead. That's as good a transition as any.
Okay,
what do you got to say about my boys?
We'll talk
Weepy,
about the climax.
Dumpy, Wheezy,
Bitchy. That's what Grumpy felt like in this
movie.
movie.
Good one. Itchy is a good name for a replacement dwarf.
Did you think I said itchy or bitchy?
No, I heard Itchy.
Oh, okay. Itchy works too. He's got really bad eczema.
We got the twins, Itchy and Scratchy, just straight for the Simpsons.
But it's like, okay, well, these things are fucking hideous.
I just don't like looking at them.
I don't like looking at them
I
either.
said to you, like, Dopey looked really familiar to me, and at one
looked
point
like
I realized
Freddie
like he looks
Highmore?
like Freddie Highmore, but just really like the unholy
Inbred.
combination of Freddie Highmore and a Keebler elf, and I just did not want to ever see that in my life.
That's gonna be stuck in my head now. But no, okay, so
I mean, yeah, the image of Dopey is gonna be burned into my head forever.
the image of all of these guys, especially when the camera has the fucking audacity
To
to
zoom in on them
while they're like, oh, like screaming or
There's
something.
like a slow-mo of one of them, and just, why would you do this? You were proud of that shot. That's like it slowed it down.
Okay, so they're horrifying. They somehow feel less like characters than the original, which is amazing. Like, I think we were saying, like, you know, like the scene in the original where Grumpy starts crying after Snow White dies is like, that will fucking, like, kill you. If you don't have a heart of stone, like, damn. Here, when he starts doing, I'm like, I don't give a fuck. I don't care about these people. And I'm not, it's not even, I mean, part of it is just because they're so hideously ugly that they would make mirrors crack in real life if they were to look at them. But it is also just, they feel less like characters than in the original. Because the original, you know, despite being a shorter movie by like 25 minutes, knew what to focus on. It knew to focus on the emotions of the characters, because they're not people. You know, they're characters. But they're fairy tale characters. They rely on emotions and expressions, and they rely on a lot of heart. And this movie has none of it. Real quick,
Go ahead. Like, yeah, I want you to finish your bit. This is just me saying something stupid.
Go ahead.
So, by your logic, if the dwarves could make a mirror crack just by looking at it, would that then turn them into the magic mirror?
Fuck. Yeah, okay, so we replaced the climax of the original, which was pretty cool, and it fit the story pretty well, with Gal Gadot gets really angry, and then she breaks the magic mirror, and then the magic mirror, like, kills her. And it isn't even like she cracks the mirror, and the mirror, like, slices her up or anything, because that'd be kind of cool.
That'd be metal as
But
hell,
no, she
actually.
just turns into, like, dust.
Like
and just,
shards and gets,
just
like, sucked into the mirror.
And then she does, like, that one that's reaching out to Snow White, and Snow White's just standing there with her fucking mouth open, like...
Because Snow White followed her up there with no protection.
No real reason
no
to do
guards
so.
and...
That's another thing, like,
Oh,
I don't know
man,
what it
whole
is, but
climax.
Rachel Zegler, like, I'm not even going to get into Rachel Zegler, but it's like, for some reason, most of her performance just has her like this. Like, with her mouth open and, like, her bottom or her top teeth, like, jutting out almost, and it's like, you look like a mouth-breathing moron. Like, this is not... I don't know what they taught you in acting school if you went to one. That's not emotion. That's not emoting. That's not being subtle, or that's not even, like, showing an emotion. You're just looking like a moron. And so, yeah, like, as the evil queen dies, she's like, That was, like, the expression she was giving is, like, the evil queen's like, oh, I'm turning into crystals. And then she fucking, like Zemnis just fucking shh.
Like, I mean, I thought Rachel Zegler was completely fine.
I thought
like,
she was okay.
She's
fine.
Like, I agree, I didn't feel much chemistry between her and my main man, Jonathan, but...
I don't know if that. I think that's more of a writing issue.
I agree with that. It's like, no, like, I
issue.
thought her performance was perfectly fine. Anytime I heard her sing, I was like, this is pretty nice.
That's the thing. It's like, despite the controversy outside of the movie, I think she does give a good performance. I can't say the same about old gal over there. But okay, so the dwarves. I have two things before we can move on. Number one is there was the whole controversy about them being like CGI and not like being actual little people, or barring that, just doing what the Lord of the Rings did and using clever camera work to make them look like they're small. And I'm not even going to go into that. But what pisses me the fuck off is that because there's the 7 dwarves and then there's the 7 bandits, the 7 merry men, and one of them is played by a literal dwarf. Like, that wasn't clever camera work, that was a dwarf. There's literally one in the movie. So, what the fuck? There was all this whole thing about, like, oh, we can't hire them because it's, like, offensive or something, but it's like, no, you literally have one right here. He could have been Grumpy.
But that's not the role he's playing.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if the controversy is, it is offensive, like, that's not something I can speak on. But if the whole thing is, it's offensive to play this kind of role, but we still want to have, like, someone in the movie, I guess that's fine. If that didn't bother me, what bothered me is, like, why the fuck are these other 7 people here? I think something I had heard is they were kind of supposed to be the new version of the 7 dwarves. Like, the prince was, like, a leader of this group of bandits, and it's the 7 of them, and they have their personalities and their quirks, and they help Snow White on their adventure. But we've got to have the 7 dwarves because it's Snow White and the 7 dwarves.
Well, it's not even that, it's Snow White!
But people were like, what the fuck? Like, where the hell are the actual dwarves? Like, they're supposed to be here, so they added them, but also kept their other 7 that don't really do anything or have much character, except for one dude who's like, I have a crossbow.
I have a crossbow. Yeah, and that's the guy.
And that's the guy.
Okay, one last thing on the dwarfs. And this is a question to you. Which is scarier?
Dopey. Like, I don't even know what the options are, but Dopey was scary, bro.
Oh, man, do we even want to, like, follow up with, like, the whole thing with Dopey? Like,
we can get to that. We can talk
but about it. It's like, no. Which is scarier? The 7 dwarves or cats?
Oh, that's high. I don't think I can say Dopey because I saw...
You saw
I saw butt naked ass Idris Elba in that bodysuit, and that is one of the scariest things I've ever seen. I saw Cat Rebel Wilson. I saw Cat James Corden. No, these 7 dwarves got nothing on cats.
You saw Judi Dench doing the spread at you did.
I fucking did. But I learned an important lesson. A cat is not a dog. I'm sorry, I don't know if anything will ever be funnier than Cat Idris Elba going, McCavity, like saying his name, just saying his name like a fucking Pokemon. And that is how I always describe that moment. It's so weird. It's so funny. Like, I remember when I was like, you have to rewind. Like, that didn't happen. I have to see that again to confirm it's real. And it was. And I laughed harder the second time. Cats is scarier than the 7 dwarves. Dopey, I'm surprised there is something less scary than Dopey, but yeah, it's Idris Elba.
Okay, so do we want to talk about Dopey? Because,
Go for it.
Okay, so, sorry, I've basically taken over your video.
No, it's fine. Both of us are here.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll go and say this. I feel like I've more or less said what I wanted to say about the movie. Like, I think the idea, yes, I'll go and say, like, my kind of final things. Like, the things I almost kind of liked. I liked the shit at the beginning of the movie. I honestly liked most of the songs. Dwarves are terrifying, but I love me a good hi-ho. It's not better than the original, but I think it's fine. I enjoyed it. Gal Gadot's weirdness, I had a good time with. Is it good? No, but it was enjoyable. It was entertaining.
It was an entertainingly bad movie, which is more than I can say about some of the other live-action Disney remakes.
And I like some of the stuff they... like, for example, in the climax, one of the big things that happens is the Queen's like, okay, Snow, you're so pure, you're so wonderful, but you are not strong enough to be a leader. You have to have a genuine hardness. Gives her a knife and says, do it. Stab me, which is dumb.
In a fairy tale, that would actually make sense.
Here, it's like, yeah, why does she just stab her and be done with it? But it's like,
all right. While she was like sleeping, just fucking.
But Snow does not stab the queen because she's too pure of heart. And then the queen takes the knife, gives it to a soldier, says, "You do it." So Snow White says, "I know you," because none of the soldiers were originally soldiers when the queen took over, because a whole ass King Richard, Robert Locksley kind of backstory happened. But all of the regular, like, bakers and millers and all that shit are now the queen's guards. They are her army. So Snow is saying, I know who all of you are. I know your names, I know your professions, because I care. And because you left such an impact on me and my heart.
Go lay down, puppy.
I believe in you and the person that you are and the people that we are, and we can be that again. That is the kind of queen I want to be. Someone who is empathetic and someone who is kind. And that is what turns everyone against the queen. And I can buy that. You might think, the queen's a piece of shit. Why didn't you turn on her earlier? Because they thought the princess was dead, which is his own can of worms that doesn't really make sense, but whatever. Again, it's not that these aspects fully work, but they almost kind of do, and I kind of like what they're doing. And the whole thing is like, the king is gone, he's missing. And Snow is kind of biding her time for him to come back. And then after meeting my main man, Jonathan, goes, you know what? I can't do that anymore. I do have a responsibility. Let me take care of this. Let me try to find my dad. Can I bring him back? If he's in danger, can I save him? They don't really do anything. It's like, no, yeah, he is just dead. I thought he was going to be the mirror. Like, the queen did some magic-y shit, has him under her thrall, and constantly has him telling her how wonderful and beautiful she is.
Yeah.
And it's just like a twist to the knife, because maybe he, like, shunned her at one point. It's like, that's neat as hell. Oh, that's
true, but that would make Wish Not Can't... No, wait, never mind. Let's go with that. See, the problem with the climax, it's a twofold problem. One, going back to what I said, is that it is they're trying to make this fairy tale have like a more realistic grounding, and because of that, it conflicts with a lot of original elements of the story. And then when they add elements that are more fairy tale-y, like this climax, it's a very fairy tale climax. It doesn't work, because when you have that more realistic kind of like that realism to that story, you have to have more realistic human thoughts and emotions, where it's like, yeah, if we're doing this realistically, why didn't she just stab Snow White? Who gives a fuck what the peasants think?
Or again, like when the hag shows up to the dwarf's cottage, yeah, why doesn't she just burn it? Why doesn't she just send her guards?
Like, she knows where it is.
Because she sends her guards after Snow in this movie, which she doesn't do in the fairy tale. Because again, the fairy tale, it's, yeah, I don't want to sully my hands. I got the huntsman to do it. Okay, that didn't work. Let me take care of it. It's huntsman didn't work. Cool, send the guards. Okay, the guards didn't work. I guess the idea is like, well, now I got to do it myself. But even then, it's like, nah, I mean, they shot Jonathan with an arrow. Like, maybe could have gotten that to work again.
But it's like, and also, it also makes the poison apple not make sense. Because it's like, well, why don't you just poison it with something that would actually just straight up kill her? Why do we have to have the true love kiss clause?
And again, it's like she captures Jonathan. So it's like, oh, true love's kiss is going to do this. Oh, this person that loves her. Yeah, I'll let him live. I'll throw him in the dungeon. I won't just kill him.
Because see, when Maleficent does that, it is like, oh, I'll let you out in like 80 years. Let's see how much true love's worth when you're like 100.
And it's like, yeah,
like
that's,
me in a bitch.
That's great.
But yeah, so when you try to make it a little more realistic... Oh, sorry, Jose's showing us, I guess, some leaked megas for ZA.
Zoomer ones. Wait, is this a real thing?
Yeah, it got confirmed.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
That's cool. Anyways.
Oh, that's very interesting, because those were not on the list.
So you're trying to simultaneously add that element of realism to the story, while also simultaneously adding more fairy tale-ish elements. Like, if you were just keeping it a straight fairy tale, I think some of these elements would have worked. But when you're trying to make it feel more like a real big boy story, if you don't have the real big boy emotions to go along with it, some of it falls flat. Like the whole Snow White going like, you know, like Snow White and Jonathan's relationship falls flat. It didn't need to happen in the fairy tale because it's like, man, it's just true love's kiss. You know, you don't have to explain true love. You know, you don't, or like the climax where she's like telling like, oh, I know you're the baker and you're the like the blacksmith, and it's like, well, why are they soldiers then? Like,
well, again, because the queen just conscripted everybody. Like, I will buy that.
But it's like, okay,
doesn't mean they're good soldiers, but at the same time, as we saw in the movie, they weren't good soldiers. So we'll give them the logic there.
Yeah, but it's like it doesn't quite work with this version of Snow White. It's like, okay, like that whole scene where, you know, like the whole house cleaning segment. So I know why they changed it, because they're like, oh, a woman doing the chores, that's very regressive. You know, we can't have women doing the housework. That's a man's job. And it's like, I mean, it can be both people's jobs, because that's what I thought they were going to go for at first. Because it's like, okay, in the original, she gets into the house, she sleeps, and she's like, man, you know, it was really rude of me to just drop in uninvited and, like, sleep. So I am going to try and do something. I'm going to clean up and make this place spit spot for them. You know, whoever they may be. I haven't even met them yet. I'm doing this out of the kindness of my heart because that's the whole point of Snow White as a character. And here it's like, oh, look at you naughty little boys. You made a mess. Now we've got to clean up. But we don't like cleaning up. Well, you see, if you
just a spoonful of sugar.
Yeah, it's literally like turn the song into a spoonful of sugar where she's making them do all the cleanup. And she's just like doing a little hop and a jig, and she's not even helping them. I'm like, bro, if
she does like a tiny
she like
bit, but
moves a broom,
but it does feel like, yeah, she's. There's a point where I think it's right after the song where she's like, oh yeah, in my day we used to do this every day. Yeah, it was wonderful. And I'm thinking, yeah, it probably was wonderful, like watching the servants do all the work while you just like danced around the house.
And it's like, I mean, okay, like I get it, right? Like you gotta be more progressive, you know, you can't have her doing all the housework for the guys. But they could have done it together, because, I mean, that's what most people do nowadays, you know? It's like, it's either we pass off the chores to each other, depending on what's going on. Like in my house, I mean, we're not, like, a couple or anything, but it's like, yeah, if I cook, someone else does the dishes, and vice versa, you know? It's like, that's fair, or people just work together to do the chores. Like, that's actually kind of a nice thing. But it's like, no, she's just singing along while they're doing the cleaning. And it was just like... Oh. And it's just like, okay, I see you've missed the point of the story entirely. Because here's the thing. If you look at Snow White from today's, like, I guess, progressive view, is it outdated? In some elements, yes. But you kind of threw the baby out with the bathwater here, because you missed the point of the story. Or at the very least, you didn't understand the elements of the story that supported the point. Because the point of the story of Snow White is that true beauty lies within, by being a kind and decent person, and not just outward beauty. And in the original in the fairy tale and in the animated movie, it's a pretty subtle message, because it's like the reason why she becomes fairer than the queen is because, yeah, she's just grown up and now she is physically more beautiful. But as the story goes on, it's like, yeah, it's not about that, you know? And it is a subtle message, but it's a very good message. Here, it's like they fucking spell it out for you, like at the very end, and they do it throughout the movie. But at the same time, they remove elements or change elements from the original story that supported that message. You know, again, she's not cleaning up the dwarves' houses because it's a woman's job to clean. She's doing it because she's a nice person, and it's like, yeah, I kind of came in here uninvited. I want to do something nice for them, you know? And it is her kindness and her generosity that makes it to where when she dies at the end, the dwarves' first thing is going after that bitch. Like, they are ready to kill her. And it's like, yeah, when Grumpy starts crying, like, and they build a diamond coffin for her, you know, because that's how much she affected them. And here it's like, she's just kind of on like a little pedestal. Like a little pedestal, I guess. I guess they didn't have enough time to build it.
The dwarves don't really do anything in the climax. They just kind of show up at the very end when everything's already taken care of, and then Dopey gives the queen a look, kind of like, yeah, we're here too. We're also in the movie. And it's a thing.
Yeah.
So I think that's basically everything, unless you do want to talk about our boy Toby. I think that's the only thing. I guess just like short version. In the original animated film, he never speaks. And my understanding was, it was a disability. Whether it is like it's a mental thing or it's just like he is genuinely unable to speak. Like the term for being mute back in the day was dumb. So he's blind, deaf, and dumb. Like that he can't talk, and he's a little slower, a little sillier than the others. And here, he speaks a few times near the end of the movie, and he's also the narrator, and the kind of way they explain it is, it's more just that he's shy, and it's like he kind of gets shat on by the other I've always just assumed they were brothers.
Yeah.
It's never stated, but it's like, yeah, he's just it's almost like he's the younger brother, and he gets the most shit.
But it's like, we already have a bashful
and
dwarf!
That's the thing, it's like, yeah, we have a bashful, like, that's the one that's shy, so... Why is that being Dopey's thing? And I mean,
Dopey is his slave
What they're
name.
trying to do is, again, like, it's a way you show Snow White's kindness. She listens to him. She's like, if you can't speak, maybe do something else. So she teaches him to whistle.
And it's like, okay, that's
whistle
fine.
song. And, like, I like that.
Like, I like that. And then it's like, oh, he can actually talk. And it's like, all right.
And that's where it gets into the... Are we trying to correct disabilities because having a disabled character is regressive? Because that's fucked up and I don't like that. Or is Dopey, like, he's disabled, but we can't have a disabled person? Like, I don't know. It's
like, you can't have him actually be he cures his disability.
And that's, yeah, I don't like that.
It's like,
I don't like that at all. That's...
For supposedly being progressive, that's a kind of a fucking awful thing to do. It's like, oh yeah, if you're like a non-verbal, if you have like autism and you're non-verbal, you just aren't trying hard enough. You just gotta learn to get some courage and then speak. You can do it. And it's like, I don't think that's as uplifting as you think it is.
That bothers me.
And it's like, again, if you're just going for the whole thing that he's shy, we literally have a dwarf named Bashful. Are you fucking kidding me?
So I had a good time with the movie. Like,
I did.
Like,
okay.
It's
a bad movie.
I don't think it's good. I think there's things that completely don't work. I think there's things that almost work, but needed more time in the oven, or other elements need to come together around them. I think Rachel Zegler does completely fine. I like the songs. They're not, like, amazing, but
they're
I
not
like
Wish levels of Kill Me
like,
Now.
they're not awful. I mean, Gal Gadot's is really weird and bad, and it's terrible, but it's, like, the best thing in the movie because of how weird it is.
What was that one thing that happened that made you literally
I don't remember. There was some line that someone said, and my genuine dead-ass reaction to the theater was I just laid down and did this because I tried to curl into a ball and die, but I couldn't die.
That was a reaction I had when I was watching Frozen 2.
But I don't remember what it was.
It was really bad.
It was like
a really awful
I think it was like a really bad pun. But it wasn't like, man, we really are the Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Like, it wasn't like that, but it was something bad.
But I will say this. I did have a lot of genuine fun watching it because we were alone in that theater.
We got to have our own little MST3K session.
Like, because that's the thing. There were like a couple other seats that had been bought when we, like, were getting our tickets, and they never showed up. So we got to just Mystery Science Theater this movie, and it was fantastic. I will give to leave it off, I will give this movie one tiny little bit of praise. It's not the Lion King remake. I will give it that. I enjoyed riffing on the movie. The Lion King, I don't think it's possible for me to enjoy anything about it.
Not true, because you said you like the actor who plays young Simba. That is the one thing that you have said, like, I think he does a good job.
Like, I will give you that. But also just because, how important The Lion King is to my childhood, it's like, this particular remake feels like an insult. And but that's a tale for another time. This was fun.
Okay. So, that's it. I'd say go see it, but because I had a good time, but I don't feel like I can recommend it in good conscience. I still feel
a little dirty that I spent money to watch it.
Yeah, we did. But, I guess that's it. See you.